Welcome, Don Powell, back to noise11.com. Good to see you again, Don.
Yeah, thanks for the connection, Paul. Nice to be back. You okay, mate?
I'm well, pretty good. Yeah, there was Let There Be Drums. That was when we spoke last time, but you've been very busy since then. What we're talking about right now is the latest new music, which is Deja Voodoo, and two versions of this, a little bit country and a little bit rock. You've done a rock and roll version and a country version.
Actually, I really enjoyed doing the country version. It was quite nice. I mean, it's a different thing for me and for the rest of the guys, really. So it was just a novelty thing we did in the studio. We thought, let's put it out, with the single as well, because we really enjoyed doing the country thing. It's not particularly our forte, but we had a bit of fun, and quite a bit of fun making it, Paul.
What's your history with country music? Have you had a lot of
experience? None whatsoever. I haven't. I think I've watched the film Nashville. That was about all. So country music. I mean, it's a different genre in it. I mean, there's sort of, there's actually some of the stuff. You don't realise how good it is.
Well, you've done two different genres on this. You're going to work your way through the genres. Is there a jazz version coming? Is there a death metal version, a rap version on the way?
I'll make notes, Paul. I'll make notes, and then I'll see what the other guys say.
Yeah, fantastic. What's the circumstances around this song? Just Let There Be Drums was done for a specific purpose. Are you working your way towards an album?
Yes, I mean we've got quite a few tracks already down and recorded, Paul. So let's see what happens, sort of thing. We're all up for it. All the guys. There's like Steve, singer, John, keyboard player, Craig, bass player, and myself. We have a great time together. So the recording goes really quickly with us, Paul, so we think we really want to do an album. So I think that'll be next on the agenda.
You live in Denmark. What about the other guys? Are they nearby?
No, they're in England, so I think actually it's amazing how technology's changed. I mean, all this stuff we actually recorded in England, but when we were doing some other tracks with the COVID situation, I couldn't travel, they couldn't travel, so they recorded their bits like bass guitar, keyboards, and vocals in the UK. Sent the file to the studio I use over here. I put the drums onto the track and send it back. It's not the same as all being together in the studio, but it's something we could do while the COVID situation was on, because everything basically closed down.
What's the status with the Don Powell Live as a live band? Is touring part of the plans?
Nothing planned at the moment, Paul, but that's on the books, obviously. That's in the book sort of thing. So we'll just wait and see.
There's been a few songs over the years and a few great covers. I loved your version of "I Am the Beat."
Actually, that was one of my favourite songs. When it actually came out, because it was. I don't know. It was like by you, Paul, but it was on the radio non-stop in the UK. And we all liked the song, so we thought, let's put it down, let's have a go. And we had a great time.
Bev Bevan's on that one, who was with you a couple of years ago on Let There Be Drums.
Yeah, he's an old mate from way back, way back in the 60s when we used to play the pubs and clubs together in our sort of the bands that were in around the same time. So we have a lot in common, and we actually did quite a few shows with The Move when he was in that lineup, and also with ELO. We did quite a few shows in the States with ELO. So we're old mates from way back, really. So it was quite easy in the studio. We had a great time together.
Rolling Stone magazine has issued a list of what they consider to be the best drummers. They had John Bonham #1, Keith Moon #2, and Ginger Baker at #3. But Neil Peart of Rush came in at #4. And Hale Blaine, who was the drummer on the Ronettes' Be My Baby, they put in at
Well, he did. Do you think how much he did? He was on all the Carpenter stuff. He basically did everybody around that time. When you think Hal Blaine, incredible. And I suppose John Bonham, I suppose he is the best. He was rather the best rock drummer ever. Because I remember, listen to this, Paul. We were playing this restaurant in a zoo in our hometown, and Robert Plant came. He's a mate from. You used to play all the pubs and clubs together in the 60s, sort of thing. And we hadn't seen him for ages. Anyway, he's there that night, and he said, "What are you up to, Robert?" He said, "Well, Jimmy Page has asked me to join this band, and I'm taking Bonham along with it." He said, "We're going to America." He says, "I don't particularly like the material we do," and he said, "But it means I can go to America," and the rest is history. And then on one American tour, Paul, we were in Dallas. And Zeppelin had played there a few days before, and we didn't know they stayed over to come and watch our show. But what Bonham and Plant had done, they brought fruit to throw at us while we were on stage.
Let's talk a bit about the Slade Alive album, because it's one of my favorite live albums. Last time we talked about, how I have that in my top three live albums of all time. Now, that was done over 3 nights.
Right.
7 songs. Did you do the same 7 songs every night?
Yeah, we did. But what we did, it was Chaz, our manager, record producer, who said we should do a live album because we was having a great time. Actually, it wasn't particularly concerts then. We were just still playing clubs, and said let's do a live album. Well, at the time, this was 1971, I think it was, Paul. There's like a theatre in London that was set up for a recording studio as well. So we booked it for 3 nights. Put the word out, mention the fan club and different things, to sort of we're going to record for 3 nights and take the best bits out of the 3 nights for the live album. And actually, Slade Alive is the second night. It's all the second night, and I tell you what, no matter how many albums we've released, people they only ever talk about Slade Alive, especially over in Australia. I mean, when we first toured that in '73, it was just phenomenal.
It was the number one album here.
Sorry?
It was the number one album here.
It was incredible. I mean, I've got a gold a triple gold award from Australia on my wall now. That was from '73.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. And when I did that tour a few years ago with Susie Quattro and Andy Scott, that's all people were shouting from the audience was play something from Slade Alive. Susie didn't like it. It didn't go down well with Susie very well. But she said, "Have you got your fan club here or something?" Yeah, but I mean, it's just amazing. But like I say, Paul, of all the albums released, people only ever talk about Slade Alive, no matter where we go in the world, even places like Russia. It's just incredible.
There were a few studio versions. Born to Be Wild was on Beginnings when you were Ambrose Slade.
Yeah, the very first album, yeah.
Yeah, Get Down, Get With It came out on the 'Cause I Love You album at one point. I think Know Who You Are, that was on Play It Loud. What about the other songs like Hear Me Calling, In Like a Shot from My Gun, Darling Be Home Soon, Keep on Rocking? Were there studio versions of those songs?
Yeah, on the actually our very first album, Beginnings. I don't know whether it was ever released in Australia, Paul.
No, it didn't come out here.
But that was basically our stage show because we weren't writing songs then. I think we just did a few things in the studio, a couple of instrumental type things. I mean, there's one called Genesis. I think it finishes the album off, the keeper, that particular album, and then we just put lyrics to it and became a single later on, Know Who You Are. But that album was basically our stage show.
You were a movie star there for a small amount of time, Don Powell, the Slade In Flame movie.
Yeah, that was. I had a great time doing that. The only thing is, Paul, it spoils you now for when you go to see a movie because you know how things are done.
Yeah. You had some incredible people in that. Tom Conti was in that film, and Alan Lake, who was married to Diana Dawes, was in there too.
Alan Lake was incredible. he had us in stitches in laughter all the time we made the movie, and it was actually Tom Conti's first movie.
Oh, wow. I did not
Yeah,
know
it was
that.
his first movie. He was basically an unknown at the time, and Alan Lake had done a few things, but it was great to be with Alan Lake. Very sad what happened, but
He died way too young, didn't he?
but the thing is, because obviously Diana died, and that was it. He couldn't handle it, Paul. Quite rightly, I mean, sort of, he just went to pieces. It's sort of very sad. But me particularly, I had a great time with Alan when we were making the film. We had a fantastic time together. Really, it was good.
When was the last time you watched the movie?
I can't remember now, but I'm watching it again. Was it in? I'm doing in November. I'm doing a special. They got there's like a literary festival thing in north of England. I've been invited to go along to talk about my books and just about Slade in general. And they're going to show Slade in Flame that night.
The actual premiere of the movie. What a star-studded lineup. Well, you had Susie Quattro, who you've been friends with
Yeah,
for half a century. Bill Oddie from The Goodies was
yeah,
there. Roy Wood,
yeah,
Lulu, Kiki D, The Sweet, Alan
yeah.
Price, Pilot, and Gary,
Yeah. That's
that
all.
Gary
Yeah,
guy.
but yeah,
But
that was a.
well, it sounds like everybody came out for that movie. It must have been a really big night.
I think they were more interested to see what we'd done, really, Paul, because we're having at that particular time we had quite a bit of success record buys. So the sort of then, like you said, all those people came along and sort of like rubbing the okay, come on, let's see what you can do, sort of thing. But we had a great time making the film. But like I said, the only thing is, you get spoiled when you watch films now because you know how things are done. So I can't watch a film the same way anymore.
Yeah.
So
Well, it did give the world a hit in Far, Far Away.
yeah, that's my favorite Slade song.
Is that right?
Yeah, my favorite, mainly because of Noddy Holder's lyrics. It's all about touring the world, which we were doing a lot around that time. So that's my favorite Slade song.
Do you ever listen to the first album?
What beginnings?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, that's the one album I do listen to. Because we were so naive at the time, Paul. That was our first time in the studio, and we were learning. We learned a lot, and luckily the engineer Roger Wake, he was so patient with us, and he taught us a lot. And that's the one album that I can actually listen to all the time, Paul. Mainly, it was that was our stage show at the time.
When I look at the English chart for 1969, the year that album came out, it's quite incredible looking at the number one albums in the UK of 1969. You had Frank Sinatra's Greatest Hits opened the year, the Rolling Stones' Let It Bleed ended the year, and in between that, Dean Martin had two number one albums in the UK that year, but so did Cream. And the Beatles had
Yeah,
Yellow Submarine, but there was
yeah.
Val Dunican who had a number one album.
I mean,
And the Hair soundtrack was a number one album. Dean Martin, Tommy, Pink Floyd had two. Led Zeppelin had two. Tommy, The Who, was a number one album in the UK that year. And the Oliver soundtrack as well. So
yeah,
it must have been a
it's
really weird time in
it
British
is. I mean,
music.
yeah, it was. I mean, it's totally across the board, isn't it? The actual sort of, choice of music there. It's just amazing. But I remember you said about Cream. We did a concert with them, and in our hometown actually, it was the local Baths Hall. They just put the floor down over the water, sort of thing. And the stage, there's no. The dressing room was just a storeroom at the side of the stage. So there was no big star treatment. And Robert Plant was on that bill. There was Cream, us, and Robert Plant, and everybody in the same room. No,
Wow.
but Ginger Baker got his double kit set up in the room, right? And he looked like a mad Viking. He had the long red hair, and everybody was scared to ask him to move his drum. Everybody was sort of standing around, couldn't move, and we were scared to ask him because, like I said, he looked like a mad Viking. And I remember Robert Plant going up to him and I said, "Mr. Baker, would you mind just moving your drums over a bit?" And I don't think I can repeat what Ginger Baker said to him, but he didn't move his drums. But I remember that night we got £6 for the gig, and Robert Plant got four. Lots of memories there.
Yeah. Well, I remember when you first toured Australia, the tickets for Slade in Sydney at the Horton Pavilion were $2.
Wow, well, that was us. Was that? That's right. Because we did Ramwick. We'd already done Ramwick. I think
Yeah.
that we status quo, Lindisfarne, the Caravan,
Yeah.
and then we did Horton Pavilion. It's amazing. Well, our very first UK tour was us and Quo, like sort of headlining, and the tickets were 50p each, all round. Yeah, there's no sort of tier seat. It was £50, 50p all round. Yeah,
Wow.
love it. And we
Just
still mates with Quo now.
50p, and you pay what 20 times more for just a beer now when you go to a
That's
gig.
what I mean. You couldn't even get a cup of coffee for that. Yeah, but
uh,
yeah, lovely memories though, Paul.
Absolutely, and you've got your book, so people can read
Yeah.
all about the story. Which that must have been difficult, I would imagine, to
Well,
put a lot of the stories down into words.
when I said I was going to do like my bio, Nod, Jim, and Dave Hill, they went white. Because they know I've got my diaries and everything's in my diaries.
Yeah.
And actually, Lisa, she's a Danish lady who did the book, and we had a few meetings talking about the book, and then she turned around to me and said, "Listen, Don, you've got to open up." You said, because the people who know you, if they read the book, they'll say, "Oh, we conveniently missed that bit out, or he didn't
Mm,
mention that." So I just gave them my diaries.
mm.
And I said, I want to read it. I want to proofread it before. I said, I don't want to cause any divorces, sort of thing. I says, and I don't have to go into hiding. So yeah, but she did a great job.
Well, it's great that we get to talk to you about these stories because there's plenty more we can do in coming years, and
Yeah.
we shouldn't leave the gaps 3 years apart. We should do them a bit
No,
closer
no,
next time.
anytime, Paul. You know where I am. We can just, it'll be great. If you can keep the thing going, Paul, it'd be great.
Absolutely, it's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Now, same with you, Paul. I like the way you've done your research, and it does make a difference.
And